The girls are back in a grand final and we've got another Urquhart on the list. This is big.
Corner he goes. It bounced in the vicinity of Carey. Magnificent! That is really the goal.
All right, Further North is back. We've had some technical issues. I don't know if we're going to speak about this, Marnie, but we're going to be honest with the listeners. We had some technical issues. We did make some fantastic jokes at the start, which were very funny, but I don't know if we can recreate them here. So welcome back to the Further North podcast. Marnie's the biggest guest on the planet, bigger than Drew Petrie or Harry Sheasel. Hello, Marnie. Welcome back.
Hello. Yeah, I don't think it's worth rehashing the jokes, but maybe a little blooper section at the end or something like that. It was very funny.
It was very funny. Something about Short Kings, rebranding, we only draft midfielders, that sort of stuff. All the usual gags that happen at a North Melbourne sort of banter sesh.
Yes, and very much here at Further North, and also just the antics that go on at the North Melbourne Football Club on draft night.
Well, that is true. We're going to talk about draft night and we're going to talk about a massive prelim final where North is going back to the big dance, which is very exciting, against the old foe Brisbane, who we touched up. I learned people weren't happy, Marnie, when I said on the podcast, I couldn't remember if we played Brisbane because we smashed every team. So they sort of just like molded into each other for me because we don't play every team twice or once, sorry.
Yeah.
I was like, did we play Brisbane? Because we don't play every team once. But no, that was just another belting along the way, an irrelevant opponent at the time. So hopefully we can do the same again next week. But first, let's talk about the draft, the second round of the draft. Then we'll get your opinion actually on some of the things that happened in the first round. But second round of the draft first. We've got another Urquhart at the club. How exciting is that?
I mean, honestly, one Urquhart wasn't enough for me in my lifetime being a North supporter. How niche. He looks good, though. He gives me Kai Loman energy from Brisbane. Don't you reckon?
Oh, yeah, I can sort of see that. Yeah, the hair, he seems so happy on the, seemed really happy when he got interviewed and a few social media posts. So are you thinking cult hero already?
Yeah, I reckon he's got a bit of cult hero energy about him. So does Matt Whitlock, though. I love that guy already.
I like his voice. He's got that I'm a big guy, like dopey voice a little bit, not in a disrespectful way, but he's a little bit nasally in the voice. So I feel like he'll be a fan favorite as well, especially when he packs on 20 kegs or so.
100%. The energy and the excitement surrounding both of those guys, but we'll talk about Luke Urquhart first. Coming over to North, I think, is everything as a North fan that you want to see. You want someone who loves the jumper, who's proud of the jumper. When we drafted him initially, I was just like, not another midfielder, like you're kidding yourselves here. But then doing a bit more research and diving a bit deeper into the kind of player that he has the potential to be that big-bodied inside mid, doing all the grunt work, which is sort of what we need. We don't really have that, and we have spoken about that multiple times, especially throughout this season. That's something we desperately need, a hole we desperately need to fill. So he does have the potential to push forward as well. He's really quick, really athletic. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can do. I think he's a really great acquisition for us.
Yeah, I agree as well. I think in the second round, it doesn't really matter about, I'm a big component of like, I think we should draft more positionally in what we need. I think we will maybe past the point of taking the best available talent, which we'll get onto that in a second. But, I think in the second round, you can just take punts more. And I think he's the sort of player we do need. I was a big believer in Josh Smiley and said, if we aren't going to take that key position player with our first pick, then getting someone like him, I think, will be fantastic because that's the one sort of player in the midfield that we don't have currently. And Urquhart isn't quite as big. He's about 10 centimeters shorter than Smiley, but maybe he can bring a bit of that Cunnington energy where he'll be a big, thick boy who doesn't mind getting under the pack, getting the ball out, doing the grunt work, laying a tackle. And I think in the second round, it's a good pick. So I'm actually pretty happy. And I love that North fans have never forgot Gavin Urquhart because every single comment section, close to a flag, boys, were going crazy with it. Gavin Urquhart is a cult figure at North. Like, I don't even think he would have believed.
No, 100%. And he was forgotten about up until that very moment. But at North, we are very loyal. We are very much
I never forgot. Loyal.
We do. No, never forgotten. Gavin Urquhart, you live deep in our hearts.
Well, I actually never forgot Gavin Urquhart, Marnie, because Gavin Urquhart was a player that back in the day when I thought I could make the AFL and I was playing football in like my under 16s years.
Yeah.
I actually wore number 14, and I remember I thought that if I make the league, how am I gonna get number 14 when I play for North? Because Gavin Urquhart's got it, so maybe I would have to have a conversation with him and see if I could take that number off him. So Gavin Urquhart actually means a lot to me, Money.
Do you know what would be brilliant? So obviously Liam Shields retired at the end of the season. Imagine the memes if Luke Urquhart went with jumper 14.
Yes, that's called destiny. That's what that is.
Oh, that's good. Surely they can make it happen.
I think the club should put their foot down as the employer and say, "This is your number, young man. You need to wear this with pride to carry on the Urquhart tradition at North Melbourne." Now, I didn't know Gavin Urquhart played 100 games for North Melbourne and that was his son, but it must be somewhere down the line, surely.
Yeah, 100%. Some weird twist of fate has brought a second Urquhart to North, and I think we just have to honour his legacy appropriately and give Luke Urquhart the number 14 Guernsey. I reckon that's a winner.
And with our second father-son pick of the night, we picked River Stevens, which is very exciting. How do you feel having a Stevens at the club again?
Yeah, it's awesome. And I think it could really go one of two ways. It's either going to go the way of Jackson Archer or it's going to go the way of Cooper Harvey. I think River, destiny's in his hands, as is with pretty much all of these father-sons. I think it's fair to say maybe Luke McDonald is the exception. He was a top 10 pick back in his day. But the others, I think destiny really lies with all of them. They clearly have the talent. And I think that, there's such a romance about father-son and the legacy, like serious legacy we're talking about here. Anthony Stevens was a club legend, dual premiership player. Everyone knows what he meant to North Melbourne and what he still means for North Melbourne. So that name's only going to get you so far. I think Cooper Harvey's really learning that. And if he doesn't step up and put the work in, then, his days could be numbered. So hopefully River sees the opportunity and takes it with both hands, because aside from the fact that he's blessed with talent, he's blessed with a famous name at the club, a small forward is something we are crying out for. We haven't had, and we spoke about this at the end of the season, we haven't had a really strong small forward for a very, very, very long time. And it would be really nice to be able to fill that role that we so desperately need to fill.
Yeah, since the Lindsay Thomas days. So it has been a while. I feel like we've got a lot. I think we've had a lot of small forwards since then, but none of them have been very good. I mean, if we're going to list off the small forward names in North Melbourne since then, we're talking like Kane Turners and Jack Marnie's, River Stevens, Cooper Harvey, Phoenix Spicer, Robert Hanson Jr., Jaden Steve. Yeah, so we've tried a lot. Hopefully Constanti and River Stevens and, maybe Robert Hanson continues his improvement as well. So we're really hoping we've got some slightly better ones, but the track record isn't fantastic. I've just pulled up some of the draft profiles for both of these guys. So for River Stevens, we've got some strengths here is his toughness, pressure, agility, and goal sense, which I think is a really interesting one because I've heard from other people as well that he lacks goal sense, but then I've also, heard that he's got goal sense. So I think that will really, I think that'll be really interesting to see what he can do in the twos, which is where I assume he'll start. I guess Constanti is similar to that as well, where, he has been known to lack a goal sense, but be that small pressure forward as well. Do you think it's ever possible we find a small forward that can pressure and kick a goal?
Well, I think River Stevens is probably our closest try at the moment. Constanti too. I think both of those guys definitely do have the ability to make it in that position. I also think, and I was talking about this with Pommy earlier today, Braden George is definitely one to watch for next season. If he can get his body right, he definitely will come in with a vengeance and with a hunger to be that player because we know he has both of those elements. So he's definitely another one that I think if any of them, and it's no disrespect to Constanti or River Stevens, but I think Braden George is probably the pick of the bunch there if he can get himself on the park.
Well, he's definitely got the most talent out of all of them. I feel like he's a little bit bigger though, isn't he? Like, does he have that small? Do you think he's got that small forward ability to play that role? Because I feel like he'll be more like, how we say that about Paul Curtis a lot, where why doesn't Paul Curtis play that small forward role? And I feel like Braden George is maybe bigger than him. The other thing with Braden, I would say, is like another ACL. He did it halfway through the year. I mean, he wouldn't be back in full training until second half of the season. So I don't know if we'll see him next year, maybe the year after. But I guess he's got another contract for this year, or did he extend it for a year on top of the one he already had?
It's a good question. I'm actually not 100% sure.
Because when was he drafted?
I do know that.
It was drafted in the Sheasel draft, wasn't he? So that would mean, I think he extended a year. So he's got 2 more years. He's got this year and next year, because they wouldn't have just given him a 1 year to recover and then not give him another deal. So I think it's 2 more seasons, including the one upcoming. So, yeah, look, maybe. I think the talent on him is unquestionable. So I'm so excited to see him play a game. I think, he's one that playing off the half back line, the twos, was very strange, but maybe it's just to get him around the ball and getting comfortable. That seems to be the go these days anyway. So anyway, let's chat about the Urquhart's qualities here. So clearance work, defensive pressure, explosive speed, which is really exciting. Maybe something that Cunnington didn't have. Not saying is it ever going to be on the level of Ben Cunnington, by the way. Leadership here, which is really good to see, and scoreboard impact as well. So maybe a little bit of a two-way player as well. A grunted heart, but doesn't mind getting on the scoreboard.
I think so. And I think having someone like him will alleviate pressure off the likes of an LDU or off the likes of a Simkin to be the guys in the middle of the ground, be that in and under player, and allows them to sort of play a bit more on the outside and showcase their flair and their talent. So I think that this guy's a very Clarko player. Like Luke Urquhart is a real Clarko player, and it didn't, made me laugh when I watched Clarko FaceTiming him when he was drafted. It's exactly the kind of such a boomer thing. I love Clarko.
Yeah, I know. Not dad energy. Him and Jack Darling would have the most energy. Talk about the stock market and, how they do the edges on their gardens and stuff like that.
Don't talk about Jack Darling. Gets me too excited. Gets me way too excited.
Oh, no.
He's back. He gets to the club on. He arrives Sunday night of recording. Monday is his first day at Arden Street. I will be like this at my phone all day waiting for footage.
Just need content.
It's Jack Darling Day tomorrow. I'm so excited. I am so excited.
If he's shaved that neck beard of his, I'm going to be spewing, because that gives him the dad vibe, and I need you to keep that rough and tumble look about you, Jack. Don't even think about making that beard crispy and nice underneath, please. Just keep that hairy under chin that you've got.
I love him already.
Absolutely.
Excited.
So let's talk a little bit about the first night of the draft. Let's talk about the players, and then we'll talk about the trade a little bit and your opinions. Everyone knows mine, and if anyone hasn't heard Marnie's thoughts on it already, we can chat about it here. Finn O'Sullivan, how'd you feel when we took him with pick number 2?
Great. Epic. Okay. We could not have taken another player with pick 2. If we were going into that draft with pick 2, every intention of taking pick 2, it was either going to be him or Sam Lawler, like the one who wasn't drafted at pick 1. So definitely the right call.
Okay, interesting. And I guess, let's talk about the trade, because then that leads onto Matt Whitlock. When the trade went through and you saw the details of it, how did you feel? First reaction?
Pissed off, because I just filmed a video recapping the first night, and they sprung that on me. So I was like, you're kidding me. I was so tired. And I was just like, I just need this to be over. It didn't surprise me. I thought we would do something like that, because I think that the available key position players in the first round this year was just incredible. There was a really, really great selection of key position players. As a supporter, it says to me that we're done mucking around. Like, we're here now. Like, we've arrived. Like, I don't think there's ever been so much pressure on North to perform in a season like there is going to be in 2025. It scares me, but it also excites me, because I know I'm so sick and tired of seeing us just dwell at the bottom of the ladder. Like, I think the cannon's loaded, and I think we're ready to go now. Like, I could not be, like I said, it scares me, but I've never been more excited for a season than I am for next year already.
Well, let me run you through a couple of things that I've sort of had an epiphany on a little bit over the last few days because, when the trade happened, obviously, I think everyone's first reaction was, that's crazy. We've just given up a lot for, not a little with the player that we got, but I guess on paper, numbers wise and picks wise with their values, we gave up a lot and didn't get heaps in return. It all depends on how the player works out. I mean, if Whitlock, wins a Coleman one day or leads our goal kicking for 5 years straight or partners Larky perfectly, then, who cares? At the end of the day, it really is just a number that people get drafted with. I mean, we know Larky got picked with 73 and, for everybody, Franklin, there's a Richard Tambling at the top of the draft. So, look, that being said, I agree with you in the fact that I think they're really trying to accelerate this rebuild. And the way I'm trying to look at it is they came out and said afterwards, I read an article, I think North put it on their site, is they rated Whitlock as a top 15 prospect. Now, is that true or not? I don't know. It definitely didn't seem like he was ranked on any draft boards as that, but we're going to take the club on their word there. A top 15 player in next year's draft would probably be top 10. So I'm trying to look at it as in, did we give up a top 5 pick in next year's draft for a guy, if the guy we got in Whitlock was in next year's draft, would be a top 10, 15 player, plus a pick, you'd think around 20 with Richmond hopefully being on the bottom of the ladder. So, look, I don't think it's as crazy when you look at it like that. It is a stretch, and I am clutching at straws a little bit for that because I'm definitely not going to be excited for the next few months to watch every media outlet completely roast us for that deal, because we're not going to see if that deal is actually bad probably until 5 to 7 years' time when Whitlock's in his prime. But that's the way I'm trying to look at it, and I think it's putting pressure on the club to be better. And I think it's there's a clear message there to be like, we moved out of next year's draft. We need to get better now, and let's not make it a thing where people can laugh at us next year when we give Richmond pick 2 or 3 again or something like that.
Well, the other thing is that, we were roasted internally and externally for taking Finn O'Sullivan with pick 2, not because he's undeniably one of the best talents in this year's draft, but because we have so many midfielders that we've already spoken about, right? You hold on to that future first round pick next year, that if North end up in the bottom 5 or 6 teams again at the top 5 pick, what are you doing? You're taking another midfielder?
Yeah.
Then what? Do you know what I mean? Like, I am so happy that the club stuck their neck out here and they've taken a risk. And of course, there's every chance it could backfire, but then, like you said, for everybody, Franklin is a Richard, you know what I mean? It's You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Because as a supporter, if we would have come away with Finn O'Sullivan and Urquhart and River Stevens, it's fine. Yeah. Where are you getting that tall supply from? Right. No disrespect to Toby Pink, but he's not a long-term prospect. And we've spoken about this for a very, multiple occasions over the year. Bryn Teakle could be, but we don't know at this stage. It doesn't look like it. Jack Darling's only got 2 or 3 maximum seasons on him. Yeah. You know what I mean? We've got to start making these moves now. We've got to start being bold now. I don't want to wait for 12 months' time, because in 12 months' time, if we haven't improved yet, LTU's out the door. Yeah. And I'm not prepared, for the club. We can future-proof to an extent, but if we don't start making a move up the ladder and soon, where do we go from here? Do you know what I mean? I think that this was such an important pick to make. Also, there was a report that came out that North tried to trade our future first-round pick at every pick from pick 8 onwards. Yep. So if we hypothetically were able to get Richmond's pick 18, which turned into pick 21, right, or even sooner, and took Matt Whitlock with that pick, then what? You're taking the same player, but it's 10 spots sooner. Then the whole narrative changes once again. So I think the club has done well. It would have done better if they were able to secure another pick in this year's draft and potentially take Jack Whitlock as well. I think that was probably the plan, to be honest with you. But I just think it got a bit messy towards the end and time was probably running out. So I'm really glad the club, I've gone on a tangent here, but I'm glad they've stuck their neck out, and I'm really glad they've made a bold move, because I'm sick and tired of us playing it safe time and time again for another season with 3 wins. The time's now to act.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And look, Port can just train Whitlock up for 3 years for us, and we'll offer him another deal, and we can bring him back across. That's a good long-term play from North. I like it.
Absolutely. It's very kind of Port to do that for us.
Yeah, so nice, especially after all the beef we've got with them. But that's fine. Look, we're building bridges, which is really, really nice. That's so sweet. The other thing with Whitlock as well, and I guess why we would have, traded so much to get him or get a key position, because hypothetically, you're right. If we did get picked 21 off Richmond or whatever, that we would have been able to get like an Armstrong or something like that as well. But I think we've got to make the most of Jack Darling being at this club as well. And it's a whole extra preseason getting that key position in now. It's a whole extra year under Jack Darling and with Nick Larkey playing in our VFL team, an extra year of building on muscle. And maybe that's the difference between us making the finals a year or two earlier than it would be later. And with key positions, I think that really, really is true, because, 3 years instead of 2 under Jack Darling for Whitlock, I think could mean bigger things for him. We've heard Brady and multiple other sources who have worked at West Coast, Adam Simpson, credit Darling with a lot of Waterman's development and Oscar Allen especially, and everything he can offer to the younger guys. So I think getting Whitlock in now, get him under his wing and get him ready for 2 to 3 years time for him to be like his partner. So, as much as I don't agree with giving up that much, at the end of the day, it is just a number. And if the players turn out to be good, then we're not going to even talk about this deal. And the only way we talk about the deal is if it doesn't go well. So look, I like it. It didn't sit with me well at the start, but after the dust settles and you have a think about it, I think we did the right thing. And I think getting Whitlock in under Darling now is better.
Yeah, I agree. I so agree. And I think Darling and Parker, for that matter, what they may have lost in, not ability is the wrong word. They're probably obviously slowing down. They're heading to the end of their careers, but they haven't lost the standard. They haven't lost the understanding of what it takes to be an elite player at an elite level. And mentally, they've still got it. So, you got to work with what you got, and they've got it. Because, they wouldn't have been around for this long if they didn't.
I'm really excited to watch the VFL next year as well. I love a key forward, Marnie. I'm a sucker for a 200-centimetre big key forward. Like, that is my favourite player and always will be my favourite type of player in the AFL. Old school, 90s, 2000s, even like your Matthew Lloyd, your Jono Brown especially, Febs, Nick Rewalt, obviously I loved Nathan Thompson so much, man. You have no idea. Like, watching that man play was so much fun. Oh, the double cobras. I love it. Cop that, Collingwood. I'm still not over it. But I'm so excited to watch the twos, to see Whitlock play and to see if Urquhart is that bully in the midfield. And I don't know, there's just more, getting a bit of a refresh for those guys instead of, as much as we loved Charlie Lazaro, like we sort of at the end knew that he was sort of a VFL player for us and could chop out in the ones if need be, getting a little bit more fresh blood through there and some more talent into the twos to put more pressure on those guys in the ones. But it means hopefully, if there's a VFL game on and Whitlock's playing out a full forward, I'm tuning in. I tell you what.
You're there. You're so there.
I'll be getting my Matt Whitlock badge very, very quickly. My light is flickering. That's going to be fun to watch on YouTube.
That's hot. The disco doll.
Anyway, maybe we just it's back. Okay. Sorry, guys, for that. Maybe I cut that out, or maybe I'll leave that in to show that it's raw podcasting. After dark. Yeah, that's true. Little strobe light, like I didn't have a seizure. What was I going to talk about? Anything else with the draft you sort of want to touch on, Marnie? I guess we've sort of, covered most of the controversy and the picks and all that sort of stuff. Or maybe a question I'll ask you is, with O'Sullivan, who's at risk most? Where does he play? Is he round one sort of player? And if so, who's under pressure to make sure he doesn't take their spot in the round one team?
Oh, look, I think it's a very long off season. I hope that we have a fully fit list going into next season that we can utilise. I think the obvious one is Will Phillips. I mean, he was signed for a year, an extra year, but this probably does put him at jeopardy a little bit. So that's going to be very, very interesting. You'd assume Parker would come straight into the side. So I'd be filthy if Parker's fit and he doesn't play round one. Watch North fans right. Arden Street's getting burnt to a crisp. So it'll be interesting to see how we line up. Like, will McKercher start back and Finn O'Sullivan have a go in the middle? Will O'Sullivan go? Will he be the next one to go back to allow
Love that.
McCutcheon to move forward. And, you just don't know. I would be very surprised if Finn O'Sullivan didn't debut in round 1 next year.
Yeah, okay.
Watch the space.
So rumor has it, Marnie, that you've purchased a new badge recently. Now I'm going to throw out a couple of names I think you may have purchased. I'm going to assume, are the new badges out for next season, or is it just last year's list?
No. So it's just last year's list. I think I have to give you one clue because I think that this will be unfair if I don't give you this one clue.
Well, can I have a quick guess first?
Yeah, go for it.
The obvious ones, I think you've got an Aiden Core badge already.
I'll tell you, I've got Hugh and I've got Charlie Convent and I've got Aiden Core and I've got Jasper Pittard, but that's like a very limited edition now.
The one that I want to say is you've got a Darcy Tucker badge.
I do not have a Darcy Tucker badge.
Okay, give me a clue.
You have to think about both lists, not just the men.
Interesting.
That's the clue I have to give you.
There's been a lot of Bella Eddy chat recently with you. Is it a Bella Eddy badge?
It is a Bella Eddy badge.
Yes, good pick. Great pickup.
Good pick. Great pickup. She's a legend. We've become really good friends. We've had numerous chats over the final series. We're having another one ahead of the game on Saturday. She's a jet. I had to do it. And there was a lot of talk about which badge would be next. So I thought I had to let you guys know that trigger's been pulled. And Bella Eddy has made the scarf.
Wow. And that is a sacred list. I mean, I'm looking at my scarf weighs about 4 kilos now, and I think I need to purchase another one to spread the badges out. It's really weighing me down. I'm getting neck pain from wearing this the scarf I've got now. I mean, the amount of weight that my Vicky Wall badge has, I think, is the one doing the real damage there to my spine.
Oh my God. She was talking about spine tingling yesterday. I think let's just get on to the prelim because it was an insane 4 quarters and Vicky Wall was in the thick of it in that third quarter in particular.
Well, look, let's start from the start because trust me, Marnie, I want to talk about Vicky Wall's third quarter, but we're into a grand final. I mean, this is something that's
back to back,
so
baby.
Exciting. Back to back against the same team as well. The girls are going back to the big dance, which is very, very exciting. Finally, a time that I can go to at 7. I think 7:45 is the kickoff on the next Saturday night. So everyone absolutely needs to be there. I think tickets are out on sale midday for members on Monday when you'll be listening to this. And 2 p.m. for general sales. So get your tickets because we'll all be down there. And I'm so excited for this, man.
I absolutely can't wait. It is going to be a historical grand final because it will either be the first ever premiership won by an expansion team or the first ever back-to-back premiers in the AFLW history. So hopefully we're the first expansion team to win a flag, but either way, it's going to be a cracking contest. Yeah,
wow. I'm a little bit nervous, to be honest, because we've been just dispatching teams left, right, and centre, and I feel like now that's the expectation. We should be expecting to get the job done fairly easily. Have you got those nerves going into the game, or do you think we're going to turn up and do what we do?
No. I was sitting there yesterday. We're 9 goals up and I'm shitting myself. All I can think about is round 14, 2024 against Collingwood. Like I've got severe PTSD. And if you're an North supporter, like there's just no sacred, I think we're just expecting at some point we have to, it's got to stop. But we don't look like slowing down. That's the thing. I think logically we're like, it's bound to stop because that's always what happens. Just in general, not just talking about, North in particular, but North in particular. Whereas this feels different. This feels like they've got a chip on their shoulder after last season and they know what they're capable of. And maybe they left it too late last season. They were sort of riding on adrenaline for a lot of the second half of the season and then into the finals that we just fell over at the last pillar. Whereas this kind of looks like we've gone from being the hunting to the hunted. And it kind of has a different energy about it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the game started really positively. We kicked. Yeah. How many in a row did we kick at the start? I mean, we kicked every goal for the first quarter.
5 or 6, I think.
Yeah. A great mark by Taylor Gatt out on the wing, and she sort of turned her player and ran forward and just broke the game open, which was really, really exciting. And she delivered it. Vicky Wall took a good mark about half forward, puts it into the square, and then marking the goal square and goal. And that was in the first minute or so, I think. So, and we've done that a few times this season where we've come out of the block so quickly. And I know Port Adelaide, maybe Hawthorn should have been the matchup I think that we're all expecting to have in that prelim final. Port Adelaide aren't maybe the best team going around, but yeah, we really put our stamp on this game so early. I mean, Randall had a contest early and crunched a girl in the forward line, and I think she won a free kick or something like that just afterwards. I can't exactly remember. She laid a girl out and then won the footy and went back and kicked a goal from that. And I don't know, we were physical early, which was really, really exciting.
Yeah, we stamped our mark on the game early. I mean, Port looked cooked pretty much from the get-go. I think last week was probably their grand final, to be honest, to make it. As you said, I don't think they weren't expected to beat Hawthorn last week, and the comeback was absolutely remarkable. So it was really, really impressive to see the way we just stamped our dominance early. Everyone was really involved, and physicality, definitely. It was a very physical game. Surprisingly, because A, Port Adelaide didn't really let out a peep for most of the game, and B, considering it was 100,000 degrees at Icon Park, it was extremely physical, and it was really, it was quite, that's the only thing that concerns me out next week. It was a very tough game of football. It didn't look it by the scoreline, but watching it and sitting there in that heat, it would have taken a lot out of them, I would have thought.
Yeah, you can see little ice bags on all the girls' heads when they're on the bench and that sort of stuff to make sure they're sort of keeping their heads about them, to be honest. It would have been so hard to play in those sort of conditions. I think the one thing I really liked first quarter, but first half as a whole especially, is we really got back to that dominance on the ground. We were winning every 50-50 ball, every clearance, every stoppage we were getting on top of. We were getting that ball forward. And as soon as that ball hit the ground, we were back to our best, because especially first half of the W season, as soon as that ball hit the ground in the forward line, the only way that it was going to get out of there is going to go through the sticks and get it back to the centre for the opposition team. Yeah. And Alice O'Loughlin has shown, and she made the All-Australian squad, I think, didn't she? She's just, every time that ball hits the ground, she's so if Vicky Wall's not cleaning up a chick or Bella Eddie's not just hunting, she's around to snap goals from literally anywhere. And it's, I don't know, should we sign her to the blokes team? Imagine her in the forward pocket.
Incredible talent. She is the only Roo that made the 22 under 22. So it's crazy. She's so young and she's got so much promise.
How does Craven not make that? That's so stiff.
It's like she's a real live wire. And she's got incredible energy. One other player that I wanted to talk about, who I think has had probably in the last month has really, really stepped up, has been Amy Smith. Amy Smith's been on the list for a while, and she's a great contributor. She's a great player, but I've just sort of noticed in the last month her defensive efforts and her follow-up efforts unrivaled. She's beating girls out like there's a 3-on-1, there's a 2-on-1, there's she's rarely beaten. It's absolutely incredible, and I think that with that, we've seen a real shift with the girls as a whole, and it's that whole thing of the floor being raised. I just love what she does, and I love watching her play. All of them do, but just the way that she's really stepped up when the situation has demanded it of her time and time again, I think it's been really symbolic of this team. We keep finding new levels every single week, and when you just think that we can't get any better, we go and do that. The game was over at quarter time.
Yeah, I mean, 26-0 at quarter time. Which, it felt like sort of game over. We came out in the second, Randall kicks a goal. Gat kicked a couple of goals in these games. She's someone that I'm super impressed with, especially back half of the season. I think she really grew as a player and sort of on that right-hand half-back wing, sort of pushing the ball forward. She's improved so much. I think she got a couple in this game as well. I mean, Sherlock kicked a couple in this quarter. We really just turned the screw, and then at halftime it's 52-2. I mean, there's just obviously there's no coming back from that, especially in the W, I guess, where scoring isn't quite as thick and fast as the men's. But we just dominated this game. I mean, Sherlock early in the season really carried, I think, our forward line in scoring. But then as the season's gone on, she's been able to take a tiny step back, and O'Loughlin's and Gats and even Vicky Wall, which we'll talk about in the third quarter, they've all started converting. And when all of our forwards and midfielders are pushing forward and being a threat, I don't know, Sherlock doesn't have to kick 5 a game for us to dominate, and that's not what she had to do this game. She was good on the day, but
She's great.
It's just a whole collective effort, and our defenders barely had anything to do.
Yeah, well, our defenders are just unreal anyway. I mean, that defense of Ferguson, Wright and Birch, just like it's second to none. And then you've got Emma Carney, who played one of her most, this was the second lowest possessions in a game for Emma Carney in her career. The only game lower was when she did her hamstring back against Richmond. So for us to still be able to do, and I'm sure having her there and having her presence there was felt, and the crowd went wild when she went near the ball. But we're doing that, and she's not even really impacting the game. Just shows how even the spread is. Tess Craven, it has been playing a lot off the back line, but she did find her way down, floating forward a little bit yesterday. And one of those instances was winded. She literally had the life taken out of her. The way she got up, shook it off, and then played a ripping second half. I mean, again, tough as nails. Like, this team is just, it seems like we're unstoppable, and I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here and get ahead of what comes, because I know there's still a very important game to come on the weekend, but you just feel like this is our time now.
So the third term, the premiership term, is now renamed the Vicky Wall term. This was some scintillating stuff. Vicky Wall, 2 goals in a matter of seconds, and she sort of, well, I was going to say broke the game open, but the game was already pretty much done at this point. But no, she had a minute of just chaos, to be honest. It was crazy. It was fantastic. And this is just Vicky Wall at her destroying best.
Oh, insane. I mean, John Cena's theme song was ringing right round Icon Park in the third term. She's one of those players where doesn't need a lot of the ball to have a big impact, but I don't think I've seen her have an impact like she did on the weekend. And 3 goals, I think it was 4 tackles, only had about 14, 15 touches, but everything she touched turned to gold at that point.
It's interesting with her because her kicking is a little bit sloppy, I will say. I know she kicked 3 goals, but there was one moment where she had the ball and she went to switch it to the wing and she nearly kicked it back to half back. And it's just the ball drop, and that's all you can tell that she doesn't, this isn't her first sport. Rugby's her sport, right? So, but where I'm going with this is the credit to her, to even though she doesn't have the best skills by foot, to be able to impact the game in so many other ways. And, you know, her pressure and tackling and ferocity just won me over straight away. But yeah, it's so good to see her, you know, get 3 goals. And like you said, she could have, it's almost, who can I liken it to? I mean, this is a crazy comparison. I'm not saying she's this player in the AFLW, but like Cyril used to have 12 of the best touches you'll ever see. And, you know, kicked 3 goals in like 5 touches or something in the games, just kind of on a different level. And then she has the ability to do that in the W, where, you know, she could have 5 touches for the game, but it could be 3 tackles to holding the ball and a couple of goals or something like that. And, you know, then it's sort of that's her job done for the day. She's not going to be an accumulator like a Riddell or a King or, you know, anyone or a Garner, but, you know, short stints with the footy, but big impact.
She's primetime Cam Zurhaar. Like when Cam Zurhaar's on fire, that's what Vicky Wall is. But Vicky Wall does it consistently. So I think the Bull can learn a few things from her.
Just so much shade thrown at Cam. No, look, she's 2021 Cam Zurhaar. Or 22 Cam Zurhaar at Marvel against Richmond.
Yeah. That's her like every week. So
she just doesn't have a cooking channel. It would just be Spice Bags, I think. That'd be fun.
Watch this Irish. Don't give her any ideas.
No one thinks anything else but Spice Bags when they think of Ireland these days.
Literally.
Look, Nasty on Instagram Reels and TikTok and stuff. Very funny. I love him, but geez, he's probably the most famous person out of Ireland at the moment.
A second to Vicky Wall, I think.
Well, second to Vicky Wall. Imagine that collab. That'd be unbelievable.
Oh God. We'll get our skates on.
Wow. Well, we could never get a collab that big, Marnie. That's internet breaking sort of stuff, to be honest.
You and I together, that's the collab. That's the collab.
You're totally right. You're totally right. It doesn't get bigger than this.
Don't tell us short here.
Which one's Vicky Wall and which one's Nasty? I mean, I've got to be Vicky Wall, surely.
Yeah. You're a better cook than me, though.
That is true. I do know my way around the kitchen. Oh, I'm both of them combined.
I'm just there for a good time.
Yeah, Marnie's just here hanging
I'm
out.
riding on the coattails of your success.
Yeah. Geez, I never thought I'd be able to say that about my entire life. So, wow, look at me go. Anyway, let's leave my trauma aside. Let's go to the fourth. And Vicky Wall again kicking a 50-meter bomb, loaded
crazy.
up on that peg of hers and just absolutely sent it. And yeah, I think that was our only goal for the quarter, I believe. So, we sort of shut up shop. We did what we needed to do in the first half, to be honest. I mean, you could tell the foot. Yeah, the foot was off the gas for us. I mean, the power, they had 6 behinds to 3-quarter time to our 11 goals, 5, and they kicked 2 goals, 3 in the last quarter, and we kicked a goal and a couple of points and a point. So, we did what we needed to do. I think I made a note here that Garner and Emma Carney were on the bench for like half of the last quarter as well. So if that doesn't suggest shut up shop time, nothing else does.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I mean, game was done by them. I mean, Port even going forward, they missed so much. They didn't really look threatening at all. And it's not an arrogant thing. If that's just how the game played out. They got their hands on the footy. They were able to generate some scores going forward, but they were just so inaccurate. We had already won the mind battle by quarter time, and then we won the game by halftime. I think that's kind of where I think, because they didn't score a goal until the second half. So even though they didn't
score a goal until the last quarter.
Yeah. So even though they had registered 6 scores, 6 scoring shots by halftime, they're all behind. Like the mental game was well and truly won by quarter time. Yeah. And
that's right.
Game done by the half.
And every contest that they were around, we just dominated as well. There was one girl that stood out to me. I don't know if it was the haircut or she was one of their better players. I'll try and find her name. And she was obviously playing for the Power, short, curly, black hair, super like bit of Vicky Wall build, like sort of like a bit chunky and thick, not fat in a bad way like that, but like she's just like broad. I try to find her name. Hang on, I'll look at the squad.
I don't
here.
really know many players outside of North AFLW players off my hand.
No, I don't know. I can't find her. Anyway, she was sort of playing off half back, and I feel like she was the only one sort of getting around the ball and trying to push things forward for them. So. I really want to find her name now, but I'm just not going to find it, am I? But anyway, look, whatever. It's Port Adelaide. They don't do ice baths anyway. So, good on the girls. Really excited for them to be in a grand final again. And 7:45 kickoff at Icon Park, North and Brisbane, the grand final replay. And
we'll be there.
It goes the opposite way. Yeah, we'll be there. We'll get the whole squad in an area. I'm assuming it's going to be like last year and everything's going to be general admission. I think it was sold out last year and just get in there early and get your spots and get the crew together. So hopefully it's that and we can all buy our tickets and get together and sit in the same spot. And maybe if we get the close to a flag lads involved as well, we can post where we're at and maybe some people can come around and cheer with us, which would be a fun time.
I think so. I think it'll be a great vibe, great energy. There's been great energy the past couple of games. So hopefully we'll see you all down there.
And if you want a game, if you haven't been to the W or still are not on board and you want to get into it or you've got any sort of inclination you want to get into it, this is the game to go to. Because I guarantee if you support the North Melbourne men's team, it's not possible for you to go to this game and not be excited when we start winning the grand final. I promise you, because this was me last year. I'd never gone. I supported it, but I wasn't into it. Went to the prelim and I found myself yelling, like genuinely yelling, standing up.
You just get sucked in.
100%, and it just sold me. And I'm converted. I love doing the pods and talking about the girls now, and you get so much more access to the women's team than you get to the men's. So if you're a North Melbourne fan and love getting down to Arden Street and want to meet players and things like that, it's genuinely a fantastic experience. So I think if you haven't been and it's on your mind, this is the one to go to. So get your tickets; they're not too expensive, and you'll have a fantastic day and to see the club lift a cup, hopefully at the end of it.
Fingers crossed. I think this team really, really deserves it. They've been around the mark for so many years now, and they really look like they're in the box seat to win their first flag, and hopefully, for them, but for us too. I mean, being successful as an entire club is so important, and I don't think people realise how this could impact our men's team going forward and how this could impact the culture of the club as a whole. So I think that if we're able to hold that premiership cup up at the end of the night, we'd be laughing. It'd be awesome.
Yeah, and a lot of the men's team got down there and watched them as well, which was great to see. And they're all hanging around the game as well. Clarko and Viney were watching on from the corporate suites up in the ivory tower up there. I mean, when you're as big a figure in the club as them, I guess you wouldn't be down with the peasants. But everyone was there supporting it, which was great. I'm surprised you didn't have your own box there, Marnie. It is, you're North royalty, so.
I'm a woman of the people, Josh. Come on.
Yeah. Grassroots, down to earth. Wow, keeping a lid on it. Is that what you're telling me?
Of course. There's nowhere else I'd rather be than in the stands with the fans.
Absolutely. Well, if you ever get a box, I hope I'm invited into that, Marnie, because hopefully I've earned this and I deserve it. So get that corporate suite for a game for us if you can, and we'll Bay 29 in a corporate box. That sounds fun.
That sounds unhinged. My kind of box.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a bunch of bogans watching the footy in a box.
Oh, are you calling a bogan?
Me, absolutely. I'm from country Tasmania, Marty. It's in my blood.
That'd be a good time. We'll make the most of it.
Score prediction for the grand final?
North by 5 goals.
5 goals. Oh, wow-wee. Highest possession getter on the ground, who is it?
Jazzy Garner. You can't go past Jazz or Ash Riddell, but I think go Jazzy.
Most goals?
I'm going to go Bella Eddie, my little pocket rocket.
Wow-wee.
Let's go 3 goals for Bella, but I think it'll be a really even spread. I can see everyone really chipping in for this one.
I don't know what the medal's called, but whatever the equivalent of the Norm Smith is.
Jazz Garner.
Jazz Garner.
It's got to be.
All right. I think
you. Best player on the ground?
Vicky Wall.
Will she win the medal?
Yeah, 3 goals, 3 women put into concussion protocol. I think that's enough for a Norm Smith type medal in the W Grand Final. So, look, dark horse is Vicky Wall. Who do I actually think might get it? My gut is telling me Taylor Gatt's going to get it. I don't know. I think she's been really good the last month, and I just think 2 goals, 1. That was her best game I think I've seen her play, or definitely one of her best. They were just maybe not possessions wise, but just impact on the game. I think she had a massive impact. So give me a dark horse if I'm not going to go my biased pick of Vicky Wall. Give me Taylor Gatt. I think she's had a bigger impact than people have given her credit for recently. I could obviously see Riddell. If I'm going to go for one of the big names, give me Riddell. I think she's my favourite out of that midfield 3. So Riddell or Gatt as a dark horse pick.
Okay, love that.
Goals. Kate Sherlock kicks 4. I love a big key forward. She took some fantastic marks on the weekend as well, leading at the ball. So, compared to everybody else in that competition, she's got the best hands. She was clunking everything. So Sherlock 4, Gatt or Riddell for the medal. Margin. North by 2 goals. I'm not going to get too carried away. Brisbane are a good team, and I thought we were going to win it last year. So North by 2 goals, but Brisbane come back late. I think at halftime we're in control, and they come back, and we have to calm it down.
I don't need another one.
That's just how North Melbourne does it, Marnie. This is what we've been. The
women are different. Come on.
Well, yes, they're very,
we haven't been
very
primed
good,
for a moment like this. I don't disagree with you, but God.
I see blue and white stripes on a jumper, Marnie, and I get PTSD. Okay, so I've seen enough.
Here's my one last question.
All right.
We win the premiership. Does Emma Carney retire at the end?
Oh. How old's Emma now?
85.
Oh, have a Shane Crawford moment, a Joe Danaher moment. I didn't even think this was a possibility.
Injury this year.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I'm not putting
no.
I just want to say I'm not putting anything on anyone. I haven't heard anything.
Juju. Yeah.
It's simply just a question, because I think you'd have to ask the question.
I feel like she was She's still so good. She's got plenty left to give. I'd say no. I think being out half the season's probably given her body a bit of freshness and she can go around again. Maybe next year's her last. Sherlaw's getting on as well, but she's been so good this season. I don't know. It's interesting because the W hasn't been around long enough to sort of know, but what is the average age that they can play until? Because I think with the W, obviously the talent at the top end is so good, but I think there's too many teams and not enough talent in the entire league just yet. So I think maybe those talented players can play till their late 30s in this league and still be better than that bottom half of the league. So no, playing on and they're going back to back. That's my call.
Love that. Love that from you. I'm all aboard.
Absolutely. Is this what it's like to be you during the men's season? Because I never get this. I don't get this excited during the men's season. Now I'm calling back-to-back cups, Sherlaw's kicking 4. This is what you're like when we're winning 0 games at the bottom of the ladder, Marnie. I wish I could do this all year round.
I'll prime you off in the off season.
Yeah.
Nothing like a bit of delusion to feed your football addiction, being a North Melbourne supporter. That's my hot tip of the day, everyone.
Yeah, wow. Well, look, any other Marnie Cohen types out there, let me know how it goes for you guys and get along to the game. Come and be delusional with us. And, hopefully we see a big crowd there. No, I'm sure it'll be sold out again. I mean, grand final replay, it's sold out. North is better this year. And I think, even with, close to a flag and the podcast and Kanga TV talking about the W so much. Hopefully it's helping build a bigger audience to it as well. So, let's pack the joint out, all blue and white, and let's absolutely destroy these lions. I mean, a lion is an animal, rubbish animal anyway, so who cares?
Kangaroos any day of the week.
Yeah, kangaroo is an Australian lion anyway, except way more ferocious.
Where are we going with this? This is. Yeah.
I think we're going to the end of the podcast, Marnie. That's where I think we're going. So we're done. Absolutely. Put a fork in us. We are done. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back. I think we're about to shut up shop for the podcast. I think I'm basically going to take December, January off and work on some big things to come back bigger and better than ever into next season. So the grind doesn't stop, but the podcast might for a bit. But I've done, 75 odd episodes this year, between 70 and 80 episodes, which is so many podcasts. So I've got maybe a couple left in me for the year that I'm putting the feet up. Hopefully everyone's okay with that, but we'll still try and post some stuff and update everybody, and we'll come back bigger and better than ever next year. And North for a premiership next year, W this year. Wow, we're going to have to get a bigger trophy cabinet.
I know. I'm getting hallucinations. I'm like dizzy just thinking of all the wins.
Yeah, absolutely. Same here. All right, let's go. Thank you, Marnie, and I'm sure you'll be back next week or whenever you're back on the pod. You're always around.
I'll be back.
Unbelievable, Marnie. All right, thanks for listening, guys. See ya.
Bye.